I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast. This is a show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth, no lies told. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Grant Kruhly. He is a pioneer in quantum energy healing and the founder of Depth Healing, which is a revolutionary healing system that integrates ancient wisdom with cutting edge quantum science. With over 5 decades of dedicated experience in martial arts, meditation, and spiritual practices, Dr. G has refined his ability to access and clear deep seated energetic blockages that conventional methods often overlook. So, Dr. Grant, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So, if you could just introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your background and what you do.
Everybody always asks me that, and it's always so hard to bring it down because there's over 5 decades. So first and foremost, when you look at me, think of me as a martial specialist, trained 46 years professionally. But it's not the martial arts you see on sports or anything. I'm a classical samurai trained person. So I carry 3 different samurai lineages on my shoulders. And my life was done in layers. So I knew my purpose of why I was born by the time I was 3. And I used to draw these big pictures of like a Noah's Ark, because I'm here to help humanity, to try to save people and nature and everything. That's why I'm here. Next, my family, when they put me in school, I wouldn't cooperate, so they failed me. And I was only 6 years old. So that humiliated my father, and the family following dad emotionally abandoned me for the rest of my life. So that's at the end of the age of 6, just as the subconscious mind it stops its primary downloading, and the age 7, the frontal cortex activates. So my life was turned completely upside down. So that at age 7, as I go back to school, I was completely isolated and humiliated. So that started me on the journey of how to find a father figure and how to be liked or respected. On the movies, I always saw that the heroes were the tough guys. So I became a tough guy. And by grade 8, I was the greatest fighter in the school. And that led me into professional martial training. And I'm a professional. I put 50,000 hours of mat time alone just in Aikido, and another 26 years of professional samurai sword work on top of that. So that led me into real high-level Zen masters, not children's play, it's the real thing. And the Marshall craft led me into a mass of severe injuries, including both knees had to be operated on, and I broke my back in half at the age of 27. And the knees were operated on, but my back, by the age of 27, I healed it completely with meditation alone, using applied kinesiology through Dr. George Goodhart Jr. Now, what happens? So what happens is, because of the injuries, I find and study under, through direct experience as a patient, great master doctors like George Goodhart Jr., greatest doctor walking on the earth, fearless. So I start to meet these guys, and then I'm experiencing years on end of severe suffering, physical, mental, emotional, and I am learning directly from these great master doctors. So that's giving me empathy for people suffering, and I'm learning things from experientially. I worked in the factories for 10 years to afford my training as a young buck, and then I left when I broke my back in half, age 27. I left the workforce, went back to university, got a 4-year honors degree in human kinetics. And my specialty, although I study exercise physiology and everything, my specialty is the teaching, professional teaching, coaching area. Then I had a spiritual experience the last year where I was put into an altered state of consciousness right in class, Neil Holland's class, transpersonal psychology. That lasted about 45 minutes. When I came down from that experience, the only thing I knew was that I had to leave Canada and move to California. So I found a little college there, and I left. I left everything. And I arrived in Palo Alto or San Mateo County with a sword, a staff, a knife, and a change of clothes. And within a couple of years, I had I met a great saint there. He prayed for me. Within 1 week, I had over $40,000, and I built the Dosatsu Ken Dojo in Mountain View, California, just down the road from NASA and Moffett Field Air Base. And there, my dojo was a classical live-in dojo, and I trained the United States military, NASA scientists, Silicon Valley execs. I sheltered battered women, and that my work became known all over the world. But in 2000, so I'm giving you a long, just like an overview. 2000, the landlord dies. His son commandeers my dojo illegally. I lost all my work. I was homeless overnight. That knocked the wind out of me for 2 years. I was able to successfully sue that guy, took the money, and decided to change paths when I was in my 40s. So I'm way up in my 40s. I go back to school to become a professional doctor because I was always a kind of a healer. And I graduated in Texas. I got married in Texas. And then I was licensed as a doctor in Tennessee and Georgia. Had no success financially whatsoever. Marriage was a homunculus. I was filled with rage, developed cancer in my chest. We cut that out, no medicine, no chemo, none of that garbage. And then I had a massive spiritual experience in a sacred chamber process at Dr. Rossi McClellan's house in Atlanta. The divine rewrote my, what's called the fifth program, my life. Within months, I found myself on a plane, moving to Thailand. I had never had any knowledge about Thailand. And as soon as I got to Thailand, everything changed because the geophysical location is important. And now I have clients all over the world I'm a distance healer, and I'm a very wealthy man. So I had to go through all kinds of transformation, still am, and that's a never-ending process. And now I'm very strongly bonded directly with the great compassionate light, or God, as you want, whatever you want to call it. I channel that directly, and that's an effortless thing for me. I do surgical precision operations in the subconscious mind of my clients, and I change their life, their physiology, their circumstance, whatever it is. That's what depth healing is designed to do. I did not invent depth healing. Depth healing is channeled. I was only trained as a regular network chiropractor. So that was all channeled to me initially in 2012. Nobody ever heard of depth healing before. So I apprenticed under a great master doctor, several doctors, but the last one I apprenticed for 8 years under Dr. Larry Oberski, and he taught me the basis of the subconscious mind, quantum field, cognitive dissonance. All of that comes from my 8 years apprenticing under him. Without him and Dr. Bob Rakowski, Dr. Jeff Britton, and several others, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. Does that help? Did I answer that question?
You've had such a major life-changing backstory. How has all of this defined who you are today?
It is who I am. So depth healing is me, and I am depth healing. So it's a unity. It's not a teachable system. I have spiritual empowerments through Tibet, spiritual empowerments through India, and through Japan. And those aren't transferable. So depth healing is different that way. So when I live, I am not a mystic, and I have no power. You have to understand the difference. People who have power, that's called a siddhi. I don't have that. I have empowerments. So that means I'm a relay station. When my client needs something, it's channeled through me for them. And it's completely dependent on, always dependent on the client. I don't have any kind of a cookie cutter program or agenda or anything. When they come, everything will open up as they need it, according to them in real time. Same thing if I do morphic field physics. When I morphic field physics means I operate in the cloud, like the Google cloud is a morphic field, and your laptop computer, which is equivalent to your brain and your subconscious, it can upload. You can upload to the cloud, and you can download from the cloud. When I have a collective of people, 100 people, 1,000 people, they form a emergent property of consciousness, separate to that group or specific to that group. And then I can operate in the cloud, and then and take care of them, and then the result downloads to them. So that's my biggest specialty. So I'm designed really for large scale collectives, and I'm very successful. I mean, everything I do, I have an 98% success rate. As long as people stick with it, we can get it done, because I'm operate in the causal field. See, your body is the bottom, it's the end, or like the caboose on a train. Everything it's a cascade down. So the body will automatically change. Brain automatically reorganizes, because I work at the causal level, and I do it in real time. So you don't have to meditate or do some type of effort. Depth healing does it to you, for you.
Earlier, you had mentioned about you had an experience where you kind of had like an out of body, you were floating. Can you tell my listeners exactly what that was and
Yeah,
your how it felt like to you?
yeah. So first off, it wasn't any floating or out of body. I have never had an out of body experience. Um, what I did was it's called a oneness state. So it was a Gestalt therapy class under a very famous professor who's deceased named Neil Holland at the University of Windsor. And we were sitting, we had to turn and face the person next to us. And one person is going to say a question, and it's the same question every single time. And the questioner mustn't show any response or emotion on their face. They just keep repeating the question, no matter what the other guy says. The question is, tell me who you are. So I was the questioner first. Pardon me, I was the partner asked me the question first. And for some reason, the divine took me immediately. There was an instant drop right into the state of I am. And in that state, your senses, which seem to all be running at the same time, so you think you're listening and hearing and talk, everything is all at the same time. That's a trick of our brain. If the senses are just slightly separated, they become pure. And when they become pure like that, so when there's a sound, that's you only hear it. That's all. You're not seeing. When you're seeing on something, looking at something, that's the only. When that occurs, the self vanishes because the self needs that speed, the confluence of all the senses to create the sense of a separate self. So I drop straight in as soon as the kid in front of me, because I was much older than all of them. As soon as he asked me, for some reason, I dropped right into I am. I had never done that before in my life. As soon as I did that, in that state, since the self is gone, there's no fear at all. It's just peace. Also, it's very blissful. There's no anxiety of any kind. And there's a stillness that could not be disturbed by any kind of external situation, nothing. And there's no fear of death. The future is completely gone, and the past is completely gone. So I'm just there, and I'm looking at this kid, and he asks the question, tell me who you are. And the only answer that I continuously was saying, but from my being, was I am. And in that state, I could actually, when it was my turn to ask him questions, I could actually see inside his brain. And what he thought he was this little tiny spark. I could see the like electricity shoot from one neuron to the other. And he thought that was who he was. I could see it. And it was nothing. He had no clue what he was or who he was. So he'll say something like, I'm so and so's son. I'm a mechanic. I own a car. It's amazing. Well, I stayed in that state. The state lasted at least 45 straight minutes. And as the class ended, luckily for me, there was a gradual wind down over maybe a day, and I'm back to my normal Grant Kruhly self. At the age, it was exactly at the age of 31 when this occurred. And after I had that experience, all I knew, I had to leave Canada and move to California. I was originally going to graduate, because that was my graduation year. I was going to graduate and move to Toronto. And the reason I had to get to America was to meet the great Sheikh. Maulana Sheikh Muhammad Nazim al-Haqqani was the Mufti of Cyprus and the 21st Grand Master of a tariqat, an order of Sufis. And as soon as he met me, he loved me, and I immediately loved him. I got invited to meet him as he arrived at San Francisco Airport. So he asked me for a demonstration of Aikido, and he actually came physically to the little outfit where I was a teacher. It was a little karate dojo, and I was a teacher there of Aikido. And he just said a minute or two prayer to give me my own dojo, my own dojo. 1 week later, because I was as poor as a church mouse, I just had a bicycle and I slept on floors anywhere I could. I couldn't even afford rent. And that's how poor I was. And at the end of the first week, a stranger, a total stranger, shows up, American guy, gave me $40,000, and we rented a small abandoned factory in Mountain View, California, and all my students worked with me. We converted it into one of the biggest classical dojos on the entire West Coast, and that's where my whole life changed. So that's why I had to leave. So the divine gave me the experience, altered the consciousness, caused me to leave America, got down there. That was in preparation to meet Sheikh, met him, and that introduced me to mystics life. So for 4 years, I served them as a learning about mysticism. And then at the end of those 4 years, I left that Muslim world and Sufi forever. And once I left, when I leave something, it's gone. Just like when I left North America in 2015 to move here, that's it. No, I never go back. So that was that experience. That's an experience of oneness. I have never had that state since.
Is it similar to, because when you were explaining it for like an average American like me, to me it sounds related to being hypnotized. Is it the same thing, or is there some similarities, or is it completely not like hypnosis?
Well, first off, I'm not able to be hypnotized. A lot of guys have tried, so I don't know directly, but I would say it's significantly different. My eyes are wide open. I'm fully conscious. As a matter of fact, that's the whole thing. I'm fully conscious. Right now, you and I are not fully conscious any more than I'm the tooth fairy, not even close. But because the frontal cortex is only receiving 40 bits of information per second, and everything running you and I right now is all subconscious. So when I went into that state, I'm fully conscious. And then hypnotism, basically hypnotism is sort of like depth healing, in that what they're going to do is bring you down into like a theta state, theta brainwave pattern. And they're going to use a flashlight by questions to go through the subconscious warehouse and try to find what's going on. Because if you want to heal something, the only way you can do it, the only way, is if you locate it. It means you have to bring it into consciousness or awareness. Once it's in awareness, you can change it. You can alter it. So hypnotism is taking you down so they can try to find where and what is going on in that big, gigantic warehouse. And by the age of 7, when the frontal cortex starts, since the subconscious records from the moment you're conceived, you start recording at 40 million bits of information per second, 24 hours a day. By the time you turn 7, if you do the math, that's about 10 quadrillion bits of information. And that is your fundamental software. None of it belongs to you. It belongs to everything else. And then when the frontal cortex kicks in, when you and I are listening to each other and we're processing whatever we can process, all it does is the frontal cortex is playing off whatever it picks up from our senses through the subconscious software. So your subconscious software, everyone's subconscious software is completely different. And that gives you the values, the value system, the thoughts, the perception. The thoughts, perceptions give you your vibration. And then by the law of resonance, that gives you the majority of your life. There are other factors like fundamental childhood decisions, karmas of all manner. There are so many kinds of karma and karmic debts and so forth and so on. And then there's the great universe. You have the solar program, the galactic program, finally the universal program, and the top program is the 10th, which is the other realms. And all of that is controlling everything we do. So as a depth healing or as a hypnotherapist, we cannot affect any of that. That's strictly in divine hands. Hypnotherapy is if he's good and you can trust him, um, is can handle the third, fourth, and fifth programs like me. So is the third, fourth, and fifth programs mean third program begins at conception. Programs 1 and 2 are drawn in when the sperm goes through the cell wall of mom's egg. And the third program is from conception until the end of the first 6 hours after you're born. Fourth program begins after those first 6 hours until the age of 7. The fifth program begins age 7 until whatever age you are. Sixth program is the global collective. I just handled the global collective in my full moon seva this month. Seventh program is the galactic. Eighth, universal. Ninth, sixth is global collective. Seventh is the solar. Eighth is the galactic. Ninth is the universal. And 10th program is the other realms where the divine lives, where hell is. All those different things are in the other realms. And all of those things control human life.
You know, the closest I've gotten to hypnosis was back in 2018 when I was in high school. We did a event where we had a guy, which I can't really remember his name, had come and he did like a huge hypnosis thing with a bunch of students. And I wanted to be
Uh,
hypnotized to see like what it was like. But of course, I'm someone that can't really focus on one thing. If I hear something, my attention will go to that thing. And in
mm-hmm,
that case, I had someone over here talking, someone in front of me was probably wrestling chips, and then I had like a cough attack. So I ended up not getting hypnotized because I couldn't focus. But I remember he just had us all close our eyes. He had common music, and
mm-hmm,
I was just open my eyes after that because I was like, this is not working. I was just watching and saw people were getting
mm-hmm,
hypnotized, and I thought, I wonder if they're like faking it. Because one kid that we talked to said that he had faked it. That once he got up there, he kind of got out of that state, but he just played along with it. So I thought,
oh,
oh, so I was like,
yeah.
lying, faker. We're like, so you were just doing that just because? And he was like, yeah. And I said, well. I was like rude. I was like, because I've always wanted. I had a person on here recently that was a medium, and I asked him. I said, if someone is like hypnotized, what goes on in their brain? Because this form of hypnosis was, you could have a random person sitting here, and it's a random person standing in front of them, and they could be like standing in front of you is your favorite celebrity, and then they'd wake up and then their eyes bug out of their head because their favorite celebrity. And I asked him, I said, are you aware of like, is it can they actually see their celebrity, or is it a thing of they see it's a normal person but in their mind they're being told it's their favorite celebrity? Because I've always wondered like, what do they see? And he couldn't tell me that because he kind of dealt with the spirits. But he's like, that's a good question to ask like a hypnosis. So
Mm,
that's like the main
yeah.
question. I'm like, I want to know if you actually see what you're seeing or you're just faking it and being like, yeah, I see that it's you, but it's my favorite celebrity. I'm like, I want to get to the bottom of that because it's just like, I'm like, because it's like like we had like I think a woman stand up there and they're like, oh, it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I'm like, what? I said, no, you can't see that. No.
Well, I'm not a hypnotherapist, so I'm not qualified to talk about hypnotherapy, but I can tell you this. The brain, what we see is being constructed by our brain, and whenever the light goes through your eye, it has to pass through something like 13 different areas of the brain before it even forms the picture. And the picture has to do with belief systems, the global collective. So there's a commonality and so forth and so on. So, and then with the reticular activating center and cognitive bias, you only see what you want to see. And that's called the observer effect. And that's real. So you could literally have an elephant standing right in front of you, you won't see it. If you're not looking for it and your brain doesn't acknowledge the possibility of that, it won't be there. And that's an actual neuroscience backed fact. So it's a complex issue, but that's actually how the brain works. That's why in the neuroscience, new sciences now, which is the only one I'm recommending you pay attention to, because all the old science is completely wrong and has been disproven. All of the physics, all of it it's all wrong. So, and then all of society and everything we built was based on wrong information. So that's all changing. And so if you see cutting edge science, I recommend you look at that. So the way the brain works, you can, in the morning, when you're first starting your day, it's important to prime your brain and decide what you're looking for and what you want to see. And that's what you're going to find and what you're going to see. And the brain's job is to make sure that you find what you're looking for. And it makes, it's like a self-confirming, self-validating system. That's why getting subconscious work like depth healing is so important, because you take all of the negative beliefs, because none of the beliefs are yours. Everything in there is from your mom, your dad, the house, your pets, the television, and everything else. None of it belongs to you. So we're talking cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance means there's something in the subconscious that says you can't do what you want to do. Your frontal cortex, your educated brain says, I want to do this. I lived like that for 30 years. I know everything from Tony Robbins, John Assaraf, Brendan Burchard, Bob Price. I know all of it. I started at the age of 19. None of it ever worked, ever, till I found the cognitive dissonance and had it removed. Who removed it? Dr. Habersky, over a period of 8 years. I had cognitive dissonance blocking me from being able to have and make money. From my dad. My dad was a great man. We lived a good life, but he grew up in the Great Depression. So he had scarcity, lack consciousness. And I, of course, absorbed all that. So it had to be removed. As soon as it was removed, I can make and receive money without any problem at all. I'm a wealthy man in Thailand. But you have to find the cognitive dissonance. It's the thing that rules your life.
You know, there are going to be people that are listening to this and they're all going to think what he's saying is like so not true, that doesn't happen. What advice do you have for people that may be non-believers that don't believe this stuff? What would you say to them how would you convince them and persuade them to give it a try and see if their opinion changes after it's completed?
Well, first of all, it doesn't matter what they believe. The only person that suffers from their belief is them.
True.
It's completely irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is come in and see me and have a session and see for yourself. I always remember one time when I was a senior staff doctor in Winchester, Tennessee in 2014. And a lot of the guys, my clients or my patients who come in, and they're real tough old farmers, really lovely people. I nicest people I ever met in my life were in Tennessee. I just love them. Anyway, this one older farmer, he comes in and I said, what can I do for you, sir? He says, she said, Doc, I have a headache and it won't go away. And I said, okay, you just sit on the edge of the table, and then I put my hands on each side of his head, not touching his head, on each side, and I'm going to do an energy transfer and remove the headache. And he looks at me, like I'm an idiot from outer space. But he says, "Well, if you say so, Doc." He sits down. I put my hands there, and a minute later he goes, "By golly, headache's all gone. I don't know what you're doing, but it sure works." And I can do that if you're on Mars. Distance is completely irrelevant. I live in Thailand. I change financial situations, health situations, chronic diseases, relationships. My clients, most of them right now, are in America. A lot of times it changes. A lot of times they're all focused in the Middle East. Then sometimes a lot of people, Europeans, come in. Doesn't make any difference at all. All of the physics and mathematics explaining that has all been peer reviewed. And so whether people agree or not, it's silly nonsense. While some scientists, for instance, wants to say, well, we don't have evidence. Who the hell cares? I do it every day. 24, every single day of the year, I do it. Whether they have evidence or not I couldn't care less. All great healers and mystics for the last 2,000 years don't have there's no science or any of that. That's all children's play. I do what I say. I live it. I'm the living proof of it. And that's the end of that argument. So all they got to do is make an appointment and I'll take care of them and they can see for themselves. It's that simple.
That's all you can really do now. In this day and age, everyone's going to be a judge, everyone's a critic, everyone has their opinion about everything. And you kind of just have to say, I don't really care what you say. Come here.
Mm-hmm.
If you still don't believe, just have a session with me and let's see if you have the same opinion once you leave. I was gonna say, by the way, the old
Mm-hmm.
man impression, that was pretty accurate. You did a good impression. That's about how we sound like down here. So that was a great impression.
Oh,
I thought that's a good impression. I thought, damn, that I like for your questions. I kind of would like for you to give some advice because the questions that you've provided kind of are like very helpful advice questions, and I think some of them are really important. So, for people that are suffering with chronic anxiety, um, how can
mm.
it how can individuals break free from the negative thought patterns and behaviors that contribute to their anxiety and begin to live a more peaceful and fulfilling life?
First and foremost, in all seriousness, get in to see me because in 1 hour of time, I can do about, something equal to about 10 years of therapy. Number two, there are some things you can do yourself that are very, very easy and they work 100%. They're all completely validated. The first and the strongest is heart math, developed by Dr. Sarah Childrey about maybe 30, 40 years ago. And heart math is the most renowned and researched method you could ever imagine. And all it is, it takes 5 minutes. And what it's going to do is when you're stressed and you have anxiety, you're producing cortisol and it's dropping into your system. The reason for that is something's triggered or is triggering the amygdala, a little organ that's our like a little watchdog. And anytime it's alerted to some kind of a danger or a perceived threat of some kind, it drops cortisol into your system. And if you're experiencing anxiety, it means it's prolonged. So when you do heart math for just 5 minutes, the cortisol will drop 45%. And then the DHEA, the growth hormone, will rise 45%. Within those 5 minutes, the brain and your cranium will entrain exactly to your heart rate variability rhythm. It means your brain is going to entrain to your heart. And then the sympathetic nervous system, which is the one giving you the anxiety, and the parasympathetic nervous system that keeps us healthy, they will entrain. And by the end of the 5 minutes, you're made out of approximately 70 trillion cells. All of the cells will be holding the same frequency. In that state, and then the big kicker with heart math, because it's an energy model, it's a quantum physics model, that state stays for 4 to 6 hours. So that's epigenetics on steroids, if you know what epigenetics is. I'll teach you heart math right now. All you do is take your hands and put them over your heart. You close your eyes and you start to focus your breath under your hands, feeling your chest rising and falling. And you use your imagination that your heart is the one that's breathing. So when you breathe in, your heart is expanding. And as you breathe out, your heart is going down. As soon as you really feel that you're there, now the 5 minutes starts. And you think of someone or something, you pick someone or something that makes it easy for you to generate feelings of love or feelings of gratitude. And then for 5 minutes, you generate those feelings in your heart. So you're breathing in your heart, your hands are over your heart area, and you're generating feelings of love and gratitude about or for whatever you've picked. I just picked my wife. And I imagine her in my arms, and I'm loving her. For 5 minutes, and everything that I just described, the cortisol, the DHEA, even secretory IgA, the first line of defense of your immune system in your mouth, goes up as high as 294%. So that's what you can do for anxiety. And when you get in to see me, I will cure the cause. I'll remove it. How do I do that? I use frequencies. There are 2 kinds of frequencies. Destructive interference waves, you can look them up on Google, and constructive interference waves. So through my empowerments through Tibet, I use destructive interference. First of all, I'm surgically precise. I will find exactly where and what the download was and when you downloaded it and how strong it is with all of its entanglements that began the complex that supports and creates your anxiety. And I will disintegrate that. And then with constructive interference waves supported through empowerments in India, I'm going to build up your consciousness. Take down the negative, all of the downloads, the imprints, negative beliefs, whatever it is, I disintegrate. When I do it, it's gone. Relative to that question, it's gone. Your brain reorganizes, and we keep doing that until all the entanglements associated with that download are removed, and that's taken away. And I keep doing that process for every single consecutive download until we get past the age of 7. Then we'll come up to you, whatever age you are now, find out if there is an active program somewhere in your consciousness that is creating and supporting your anxiety. We find it, disintegrate it, shut it off. Now there's no foundation to support that anxiety or perception, and there's no active program. And you will immediately feel better. And as soon as that occurs, because your frequency as a being is totally different, with that gone out of your field, your life starts to change, your health starts to change, everything starts to change. And then because I'm a mystic with other empowerments for prayer, I will pray for you through the divine for you. And then I give you a diksha. And the diksha is an endorsement blessing from the divine. It'll channel through me into your brain. And it starts the deep, deep healing process that only the divine can do. It'll start to disassemble in your brain. They've studied this with functional brain scans for months and months and months. It'll continuously unwind and remove the neural connections that support the anxiety about the past or anxiety about the future. And it lights up the frontal cortex. So it's making you more conscious. Every time you get a diksha, you become more conscious. Like the man I was even a year ago is gone, because I receive these kind of process that I'm describing every day. And then at the end of every week, I receive special empowerments, because I'm a member of what is known as the 81,000 under Sriyama Bhagavan in India. That's a special group. And then once a month, I receive a very powerful empowerment. So my level is always going up. When you see me, your level will always go up. Your health will go up, your life goes up, your consciousness, your happiness. It's all created through the subconscious mind, which is continuous with the unconscious mind, which goes into the global collective. They're all strata. So that's the kind of work I do. Did I answer your question?
Yes, there was a point where I was trying to do it, and I looked like Dracula in his like coffin doing. I look like a dead person with their arms crossed for a second with their eyes closed. If someone had walked in and saw that, they would have been like, "He's having a moment." I was literally sitting here, and then I started getting tickled because I thought, "Oh, here I look like a dead person standing up straight in a chair with his arms crossed." And
I've never thought of that before, but I understand, because I used to watch Dracula with Bela Lugosi. And by the way, if you want to supercharge heart math meditation, just smile. And the moment you smile, you release a massive amount of endorphins, and it'll really. When I do guided meditation for my clients, sometimes when I do collectives, sometimes I'll do that, and then just after they've created their state, at the very end, the last minute, I have them smile real big, and and then see that's sustained for 4 to 6 hours. So every single second, millions of brand new cells are born. When those cells are born in an energy field of love or gratitude, all the receptor sites on the cell membrane surface for cortisol, for acids, for negative energy are closed. And your DNA is only receiving the frequencies of love and gratitude for all 70 trillion cells. And that translates into each organ. So your liver is receiving this state of love, and it starts to rebuild itself. Every cell born is born like a baby being born from a happy womb. So we know in science, if a mother's womb is a really unhappy, stressed, drugged womb, that baby, when it's born, has problems. If a mother has a real happy womb, very happy marriage, happy house, everything's lovely, good nutrition, that baby was born, that's a different story. Well, same thing with your cells. So that's why heart math is the king of kings of the meditations. Just take 5 minutes. So if you do that in the morning, you're starting your day in this beautiful state. And then if you do cognitive priming, what is cognitive priming? Just means tell your brain what you want to see today and who or how you want to be. What kind of day do you want? Everything, the brain works through questions. That's the basis of neuro-linguistic program. That's the area of expertise of Tony Robbins. And he's a real master of that. And so, and by the way, Tony Robbins is also with Oneness in Shriyama Bhagavan and has received extensive dikshas. He built a Oneness temple on his private island in Fiji. Anyway, with neuro-linguistic programming, what that means is the answer is in the question. The problem with people is you've been programmed to ask yourself very bad questions. Like, how the hell am I going to get through today? Where on earth can I ever, I don't have the money to pay those bills. What am I going to do? What you do is you ask a question in such a way that your brain works for you. Like, how can I go into the office today and have an absolutely wonderful, beautiful day and make everybody around me feel happy? And your brain will start to look for the answer. How can I make my money work for me? Your brain will start to look for the answer. How can I feel totally abundant and grateful for all I have today? Your brain will look for the answer. And that's what you're going to see. That's what the reticular activating center looks for. And the only thing you'll see is what the reticular activating center looks for. That's a neurologic fact. So one, heart math puts you in a state so your anxiety stays way down. Two, you prime your brain so that you're skillfully using it. It's just a tool. The king of kings is the heart, not the brain, but the brain is the guide. So you have to, the brain is like your fingers on the keyboard of the computer to ask a question. And the Google Cloud is where this is your subconscious. And that's where it will extract the information from. The nice thing is all of the information in the subconscious can be changed. That's my area of expertise. That's why my life changed. My life changed a lot. About 360 degrees times 10. You wouldn't recognize me.
During that whole thing when you were talking about your smile, it was just making me think like, I was like, see, friends, so what he's saying is when I smile, I'm doing a good thing for myself. So y'all better accept my smile. Because they always say, why you smile all the time? And I'm saying, well, now I release endorphins and I get millions of cells created. So my body's working. So y'all appreciate my smile.
Yeah, and when you know, it's a really funny thing. I was trained to be a tough guy, so I used to walk around, and I had trained my face as a child because I was scared of the bigger boys. So I would make my face look hard like they do on television, you know. So in the Western movie or something, so that guys would be afraid of me. Well, I didn't realize my face is always like that. And when I moved to Thailand, Thailand's known as the land of smiles. And it's true. When you come here, they're all smiling at you. all day long. Everybody's smiling. And after a little while, it catches on. And I smile all the time now. Um, but in the old day, I couldn't understand when I went to become a doctor. I was in my 40s, and I had trained to be, hardcore. I'm a combat person, so I don't train to control someone. I train to kill them, and that's why I train soldiers and military and SWAT teams and people like that. So I couldn't understand when I went to the chiropractic call. Everybody was always afraid of me, and they'd stay away from me. It was my face. And in America, like you say, if you smile and say hello to somebody, they think you're nuts or you want something. But in a country like this, see, everybody just smiles. And as soon as you smile at that, they smile right back. And it's really very lovely. But yes, when you smile, you benefit. Like you're spreading a beautiful energy into your surround in the first place. And in the second place, whether they like it or not, to hell with them. Just forget about it. You go ahead and smile and be happy.
They're
Yeah.
going to accept it if they like it or not. To wrap things
Oh,
up, I've appreciated you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and have our conversation today. For people that want
you're
to
welcome.
find you and would like to learn more about what you do and maybe sign up for a session, tell me, just plug everything that you have going on.
Okay, well, I mean, the basis of it is the website, which is depth healing as one word, depthhealing.org, not .com.org. And then if you go to Depth Healing YouTube, you can see all kinds of lectures, ceremonies. I do 2 collectives a month. They're only $50 each. They're extremely powerful, and they all build on each other. I do a big free full moon seva, a big ceremony, and that means um, I'm not healing. I'm just connecting you with your divine, with God, and you present your prayers during the ceremony. We just finished the full moon this weekend past, and it was very, very beautiful. And each one of the full moons is dedicated to one of the 10 programs. So this month was the Global Collective, because the world is in so much trouble. So I do those, and then I have all of the privates. I'm a professional mentor. So if you want me as a mentor, I can mentor I mentor anything, really. I've been around a long time. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I've been around. I've been training 54 years, and I don't give a damn about academics. I learn everything. I have all my degrees in that, but I learn everything from direct apprenticeships. And there's privates of 1 hour and 2 hour. Mentorship is 2 hours. Consulting should be 2 hours. Need time. And consulting is like a one-time thing. Mentorship is a commitment. So you just do that. I think that'll help you out. And if you have a pen, this is my WhatsApp. You go to Depth Healing on WhatsApp. Don't use LinkedIn. I never look at LinkedIn. I hate that thing. It's there, but I don't look at it. So on WhatsApp, you get me privately, and that's +66804639056. And then, of course, there's Depth Healing WhatsApp, Depth Healing Instagram, and a bunch of those other. I don't know what they are. I'm not a social media man. I'm a doctor. So if that helps, come on in and see me, and I'll take care of you.
Well, thank you to Dr. Grant for joining me. I'll put all of his information in the description box below so that all of his information will be in one place. But thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully someone will join a session with you. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope you have a lovely evening over there.
And you can also follow me on social media as well, on Instagram and TikTok at Lethal Venom Podcast, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcast. Feel free to follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. It's on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora, among other platforms as well. So feel free to follow them on there so you get notified of when new episodes drop. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to today's episode of Lethal Venom. Appreciate you all so much for listening. Hope y'all have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.